guys will be coming to the kitchen with me here in just a little bit to get some coffee. But until then, it's still brewing. It's still brewing. Bright and early, if I'm already up and already got coffee brewing at 3:37 in the morning on Saturday, I'm pretty sure we can deduct that I've been up since before 3 o'clock in the morning. Just saying. Yay. But we work when we are up. We sleep when we're down. That's what we do. So I've been sitting here thinking, and I got to be honest with you, I have, since Robin's statement came out yesterday, which Robin is Seth's mother. Seth is the biological father to Sebastian Rogers, which is the 15-year-old boy that disappeared from his mother and stepfather's home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. His mother, Katie Proudfoot, and his stepfather, Chris Proudfoot, have been under quite the scrutiny. Turn on subscriber only mode. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I was reading something. I'm still half asleep. Good morning. Somebody's watching. Somebody's watching somewhere. I didn't bother posting this anywhere because I figured people are either asleep, they're still, they have a strong night or something. I don't do anything but work and sleep. So it is what it is. But it's been really bothering me because, I've been sitting here thinking, when did they pass their polygraph? I go through a whole host of questions when it comes to this polygraph because, I don't know everything about polygraphs. I know that they are a resource for law enforcement. I know they're inadmissible in a court of law, but there is another one that's similar to the polygraph test that's much different. From my understanding, it's a little different, but it can be utilized in a court of law. And I can't remember what the name of it is, but it's different than the polygraph, but it is in parts similar. I've got to find out the name, and once I find out what it is that they use, then I will we'll go over that as well. But there's just something that's not sitting right with me with Robin's. Not that she did anything wrong, but when she said that Chris and Katie passed their polygraph, and I thought, it took Chris an awful long time to finally take that polygraph. I think he was the last out of everybody to take a polygraph. He was the first to say he took one and passed one. So, I truly do believe that Chris had time, if he needed to look into it. Not that he did. I'm not saying that he did. I'm not saying that he didn't. I'm just saying if he wanted to, he'd have time to look into it. So I just did a little search on Google, And my search, this is what my search says. How do people pass polygraph tests without trying? Right? I don't know. Right? Nope, Seth was last. Seth was last? Are you sure about that? You sure? Because it's my understanding, because you got to remember, just because his results were just released, he took his polygraph test weeks ago. So either way, it's splitting hairs. It doesn't really matter. But I still think he took his last until otherwise proven. Leandra, just saying, till otherwise proven. That's just my opinion. I have just to be factual, I have no information on whether it's true or not. Barbosa, hey my love. What are you doing up so early? Are you still partying? Are you a party animal? Are you a party animal like Bullhorn Betty? I think I was seeing sheep at 8:30 last night. Oh, good gracious. You know what? My 20-year-old would kick my 40-year-old ass. I'm just saying. If my 20-year-old self looked at my 40-year-old self, I think I'd be highly offended. Gloves are finally off. What do you mean? Cake, what? Inform. Inform what you mean by gloves are finally off. Are you talking about me and my 20-year-old? I don't know. in my 20s, that's when I had my neck surgery. So I don't know. I think my 40-year-old could kick my 20-year-old butt. But, gotta be careful for them old folks, man. They got better aim, right? They have more practice. Tony said the gloves are off. With the Proudfoots? Where did you hear that? I mean, it's not that I want it to be like that, but it's just like, how much can we keep making excuses for the Proudfoots? I mean, every freaking imaginable olive branch has been extended. You got to learn when to hold them and when to fold them, And it's like there's just something that's stinking to high heaven. Nobody can explain why. Everybody keeps saying that this is, no foul play, not an investigation. We keep hearing it from all these other places, but the places we need to hear it from. He says no longer protecting the Proudfoots. He was on TikTok. I tried to watch it. That's what I don't like about TikTok lives, is because I try to watch the TikTok lives, but they're not like YouTube. So when the lives end, they end. They're done. They're not accessible by anybody but the creator. That's why I take my lives and I download them. And because they're just not accessible any other place. So the only way you're going to be able to watch my lives when they end is here on YouTube. So it's sad that it has to get to this point, but in all fairness, it's not right for Chris to constantly be pointing the finger at Seth and saying Seth is causing all these problems. I mean, we've seen enough of these that I think in the situation that we're in, and knowing how high strong both Chris and Seth are, I think Seth has handled himself very, very well, if you want my personal opinion. And I say this because I really don't know if I could personally be as close as Seth was to Chris on the day of his vigil, knowing that there was a possibility that that man could have done something, and that man being that close to me without me coming out of my ever-loving skin. You see what I'm saying? And it doesn't really matter whether he knows or not, whether Chris or Katie did anything. It's just that underlying feeling, right? It's the emotion. So I really do think that Seth has been handling himself very well around Chris, while he has been, Chris has been trying to take the focus off of him and put it squarely on Seth, in my opinion. It's all of 12:41 a.m. I'm good. I'm going to need to go get coffee. I really am. I got coffee brewing, and I started this live before I grabbed do I have I don't even have a coffee cup in here, but I did have water. So if I need to suffer through it, I can suffer through it. As long as I got water or coffee, I'm good. And I got plenty of water. Oh my God. I tell you what. I've got to tell you guys something, and then we'll get started on I'll go through this, and then we'll get started on the polygraph test. But I'm on TikTok, right? And they have this whole TikTok shop thing, and I'm not one of these sellers or anything like that. But I've been having problem with my ice maker, and it's going to be a fairly easy fix. It's just a time-consuming fix, if that makes sense. And so I'm not prepared to go through the time-consuming portion of it. And so I'm having issues with my ice maker. And so I'm just like, I've been sitting here. Of course I can go get ice. I can make ice, and I can put it, bag it and whatever, whatever. I can make do. But I was scrolling through TikTok shop, and I have a funny feeling I'm going to end up being one of these sellers. But I was scrolling through, and of course I'm rolling my eyes at all the stuff that's for sale. Until I came across this ice maker, right? This little top ice maker, and I'm like, right? I'm in need of an ice maker. And so I came across this thing, and they're like, oh, you can get this little, it's like a little tabletop ice maker you just pour your water into and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, you can, they said it's $30. Now, I've been looking for these little ice makers now for, I don't know. I've looked at one here and one there because over the years I have had some ice issues. I've got 3 refrigerators here. So, I mean, I always have a cold, it's not like I'm without, okay? Just to forewarn you guys, for one person being here, I've got 3 refrigerators. I got 1 refrigerator outside, 1 in Vince's old room, and 1 in my kitchen. And they all work, okay? And they're all plugged in. And I don't know why. Don't ask me. I never really thought about it until we just had this conversation. It's like one of those things where they're just there, right? You don't think. So, long story short, I came across this. It was like $30, and I'm like, "There's no way this thing works. There's no way." It's like I think I paid $25.99 for this thing, and of course I'm in disbelief. Okay, I'm in disbelief that you can get this table countertop ice maker for under $30 because I've seen them before. Like I think like 200 or something like that. I don't know. And so I'm like the dumbass, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go ahead and buy this. There's no way they're not gonna ship it. This is a scam. This is something. So I'm like, oh, well, we'll try it for I think it was under $30. Okay, shipping to my front door. Next thing I know, it arrives, and I'm like, there's no way it works. I plug it in and put water in it. This thing made ice in 10 minutes and it's still on my counter making ice. And so the reason why I'm going on this is because I'm sitting here and I'm like, I have hearing issues. And so I'm like listening to something. And this is a new appliance for me, okay? So I'm not quite adjusted to the sound. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, what the heck is that noise? It's the ice maker. So now I love this ice maker so damn much. That's why I said it might be my only item I sell because I love it that much. But anyways, I'm absolutely shocked. And I didn't get a special deal either. Like that was what it was being sold for. I'm not linking it because I'm not selling it, but I'm just telling you a story. I don't want people going out there, oh my God, did you hear Paul? Yes, he said they're just interfering with looking for Sebastian. They won't let exactly. They're not doing. They're having the appearance of trying to do everything for their son, but when you actually, try to apply the receipts to those statements, because that's what we do here. We fact find. And when you take that they're doing everything that they can to find their son, and you say, well, did you raise the reward fund? Did you post flyers? Did you search? And then you start looking at, okay, you can't search, but you can go out to eat. You can't search, but you can pack up your camper and go an hour, 3.5 hours away. You can't search, but you can play games. You can't search, but your family can follow searchers around. You can't search, but you can monitor the searchers to know where they're at to go meet them to kick them off. When you start looking at all of these things, this is not Seth stirring the pot. This is people using their eyes and their own brains to see what they're seeing. And these are things that you can't dispute, and these are things that you can't blame Seth for. And when you have people out there that are giving of their own dime, like that lady that flew, like I would never stop searching. I would have told, as long as it wasn't on his property, I would have told him to kick rocks. And I would actually, if he stopped her on a place that was not his property, I'll tell somebody to get bent. Don't interfere with my enjoyment, of whatever public services I want to use, whether it's walking with a few dogs sniffing the ground or not. It's my prerogative to move freely in the United States. Am I on your property, sir? No. Then get the hell out my way, sir. That's the next thing coming out my mouth. Extremely well given. What CP? Well, you know what? Like I said, it's sad that it's there because I really was. Sorry, guys. My lips. They just peel. They peel and peel. They haven't stopped peeling since Gabby Petito. But it's sad that it's here because I really, truly believe that Seth is really trying I think there for a really long time, Seth was in denial that the mother of his kid and her husband, I think we all were, because I mean, let's face it, looking from the outside looking in, these are not our typical parents that we're covering. Okay, um, it's very seldom that we cover parents like this. Okay, parents that are highly educated. Um, there are few. There was that one. What was it? Professor and her husband, that their children. I mean, it was insane. Um, I can't even go through it here, but I'm so happy someone is awake. Abby, I'm not. Well, I usually am, but I'm very rarely online. I usually wait until my crew is usually up around morning time, not early morning time. But this stuff has been sitting on my mind, and now that I'm running 4 different channels, I'm finding that the sooner I get started and get my work started, the sooner I can read, because this stuff is a lot of research, and in this case here, it's moving a mile a minute because there's so much drama in it, and if you can lose some really good information with all the noise. So you've got to really, like there's a whole, from the beginning, a bunch of noise that we were looking at the beginning that I missed a whole slew of information at the beginning that could have been useful for me. And so I'm just now, as I'm refocusing and going back to the beginning of the case, like I said, when we were all hopeful that boy was Sebastian, and then we realized we had a blow, that the photo of the boy in North Carolina was not Sebastian. And gosh, the uncanny resemblance is just, I mean, there were some differences, but boy, I mean, you talk about as close can get. There, everybody can understand why that woman through that parking lot snapped that photo. She truly thought she saw Sebastian, and I have to be honest, it did look like Sebastian. Very similar, but different, but very similar. And so that's been a huge blow. But after that, I said I'm going to go back to the beginning, because I always feel like especially how quickly everything was moving. We kind of came into the story late because we were on Riley Strain. We heard about it, but we kind of came in late. And there was this one TikToker that was really pushing for all the people that were at the Riley Strain case to come and help down, just a little bit further to Sebastian's case. And because we had a lot of highly recognized names out there for Riley Strain, it literally brought the entire true crime community to the Sebastian Rogers case. And I think we just fell in love with this boy, and the more we fell in love with this boy and we started looking at the parents, to assist them, because that's what we do. We go in there and we support families in a multitude of ways, with resources, with advocation, with screen time, being able to get in front of millions and millions of people about your case, which is really what you want when you have a missing child, and those things. But then we started seeing very quickly that there was 2 people that we expect to be there around the clock that were missing in action. And those people were Chris and Katie. And, the true crime community, especially the people that were out there, we had some people that were mods for Court TV. We had some people that have hundreds of thousands of followers on YouTube. We had a few people that had millions of followers on TikTok out there. So you're talking about the best of the true crime community that had the eyes on this case. That's what caused this case to blow up like it did. And the one thing that we all know is the behaviors of moms. I mean, of everything else, it's the moms. It's there's something about a maternal instinct when it comes to a mother's love for her child. And that was what I think many of us, especially from an outside looking in, they have a lovely home, they look like great parents. We're expecting, they were military trained, so we're expecting to have that on the ground. And it wasn't. It just wasn't. And none of their family was. And that was the change in the true crime community's heart, was at that moment when all those people went out there with the United Cajun Navy, and all this stuff ensued. And while the United Cajun Navy did cause a major distraction, it also distracted us from the fact that nobody from the home and the family where this boy truly disappeared from ever has showed up to lend a helping hand at all. We're not just talking about Katie and Chris. We're talking about the Bowersocks. We're talking about the aunts and uncles that, they were spending the day with. None of them. The entire family sat out looking for this boy. And for us to turn a blind eye to that is, in my opinion, very foolish. Because that was, this boy deserved better than that from that side of the family. They were the ones that got to spend the most time with him, and they shit on him. The entire family. So, I kind of understand why if Seth and Tony decides that this is the avenue that they must take, then that's the avenue they must take. Because I don't know, after finding out everything that we found out about Katie and Chris, how Seth can stand next to them. How he can try to father's got to do what a father's got to do. But boy, that's one jagged pill to swallow, That's one jagged pill to swallow. I'm just saying. That takes... Nana, just the other day I had 2 of my ice makers go out. Yes, both at the same time. The coincidences, it's like, that's the day, when your whole world's falling apart. Believe it or not, that's probably the day that you should go get a lottery ticket, right? Because what are the odds? One a refrigerator and one a countertop. Okay, yeah, I know. Well, I don't have water running out to I got 2 other refrigerators, and of course it's just me here, so I can't just move these refrigerators around. But the one outside's not hooked up to water, and the one in the back room's not hooked up to water. Both with working ice makers, and the one that has the broken ice maker. And it's just, what it is? It's, to be honest with you, it's the fan. It's the fan. The fan in there, so everything on the bottom of the refrigerator is cold. Everything, as you go up, it's just like a cooler instead of a refrigerator. So I got everything on the bottom in the kitchen, and I've got everything else moved into the other refrigerators. So it's a fan. It's literally taking the whole cap off and just getting in there and getting it. It's really a simple repair. It's just a time-consuming one. And whenever I'm going in there to change that out, I'm changing out the whole ice maker. I'm changing. If I'm going in, this is the way I do work around the house. If I've got to literally do my own repairs, which I have to do because nowadays everything is freaking so costly, you got to have a second mortgage to have any type of repairs. So I try to do, cut costs as much as possible. And if I'm going to have to tear into my refrigerator, literally take the casing off and get into the guts of it, I'm replacing everything, okay? I don't want to have to do this again. So if I have access to, say, the thermostat, the relay, all these things in there, I'm not changing out the compressor. I'm not that stupid. But, that's a very expensive part. But, anything that's in there that I can just buy and just, maintenance. I'm in there. We're changing out the ice maker. So if I find anything in there, I'm like, I'm changing this out. I don't want to do this again, right? So I know if I can get in there and get the guts, changed out, then I'm good for another 10 years, Lisa Laney reminds everybody, Happy Mother's Day to all of our beautiful moms. My mommy's not here. So we're going to have to, I'll have to figure out something to do for my mommy. I think and she's not even going to be back for a month. Which kind of sucks. I've seen a post that people are pretending to be family on Facebook using their names to deflect and discredit Seth. False accounts shared via YouTube. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. And yeah, we're very much aware, and you know, there we do have a lot of new audience members that are probably not on YouTube as much, that have been brought here or brought to you know, these content creators because of this case. So I just want to let you guys know that here we have things, if you're not familiar with them, they're called trolls. People that will just do some really unpleasant, morally wrong things on here to derive attention or throw cases and stuff like that. So you got to be very cautious. You know, always protect your information when you're on these social media platforms, just as a housekeeping item for maybe new people that are coming to social media for the first time or getting involved for the first time. As you know, there's a lot of people in my chat that have these weird names. Probably not the smartest thing to come here with your name, your lawful name, because you never know who you're going to tick off or who may need to find out who you are, right? It sounds a little big brotherish, a little creepy. Yes, welcome to social media and welcome to 2024. So you want to just make sure that you do some things to help protect yourself. And, you know, what do you do? What do you do? And so it sounds like they're being hit with some of those people. And not only that, but there is a small sector, some of them that are paid, that come in here and they're paid by a number of people, creators that support these families that do these atrocities to family members. Why they support them, I don't know. I don't know if they have some type of bleeding heart because maybe they lived this life once before, or maybe they still are the same piece of crap and they just feel like the piece of crap is deserved to be defended. I don't know. I'm not them. I'm not them. But I don't know. When it comes to Chris and Katie, their behavior has been off from day one. And, you know, we need to look at why did it take them 8 days? You know, I think I questioned it, but I laid off of it until I started hearing the criminal profilers bring it up as a hot button. And then I'm like, you know what? That's something we really need to look at. Why did it take them 8 days? Why didn't they come pleading to the public whenever he was missing, whenever he was just classified as missing? Why did they wait until there may have been foul play involved before they decided to do that first interview? You know, is there a reasonable explanation for that? There might be, right? There might be. But from where I'm sitting, you know, once that 8 days hit, it seemed like they were off to the races until we started questioning some of their statements. And then we started having all of this. Chasing narcissists is breadcrumbs, yeah. Even Joe Petito was on the live and said that he doesn't think Chris or Katie gave a shit about Sebastian. He said it just like that. Yeah, because what parents... Well, you got to think of, you know, any parent that has lost a child and truly lost a child. You're talking about like Jennifer Santinello, Brandy Neal, Joe Petito, you know, that had literally nothing to do with their child disappearing, and is dealing with this empty hole in their heart because their child is gone, understands what they were willing to do to find their kid. And seeing these parents run 3.5 hours away, military trained people running away. I don't think people quite understand the true gravity of that statement. I really don't. And to me, I do. That 2 military trained individuals ran away. And what did they run away from? Their son. All right. So kind of getting on this. This is related to the polygraph test. You know, I was a little concerned. A couple things that I believe, you know, the conspiracy side of me, right? So let's go with this conspiracy theory first. Okay, this is not to be taken as factual, obviously. But The conspiracy side of me, when I read Robin's comments about how she just had a conversation with the special agent at TBI, and I'm thinking, did you call him or did he call you? Right? That's the first thing out of my mind. So this is the conspiracy. And I don't do conspiracy. But every now and again, we put the tin hat on, right? So it made me wonder, because we are just talking about the trolls, and how they're making people's names up. What if somebody called her out of the blue and said, hey, I'm Sergeant so-and-so. Did you know that this stuff's not really helping the case, and I just wanted to let you know that they passed their polygraph and da-da-da-da. Meanwhile, it's not even a TBI agent. Like, that's my conspiracy theory. Now, I don't know whether that's true or not. I know somebody's got to pick it up, so I might as well throw it out there. But the other thing would law enforcement lie to Seth's mother, or did she misunderstand what they were saying? And I don't know. But what if, it's conspiracy theory, what if the reason why Seth wants nothing more to do with Chris and Katie is because they fact-checked that statement that Robin said, and maybe a TBI agent said, we haven't talked to her. And maybe that's when they realize, I don't know, TBI, did they pass, did they not pass? I'd like to see that coming from an official source. If you can tell somebody, and somebody can go on social media and state it, certainly it can come from a legitimate, reliable source such as law enforcement. And not only that, but why wouldn't they want the public to know that Katie and Chris passed their polygraph, and that we need to be refocusing our efforts? Why wouldn't they want the public focusing on the right areas instead of wasting time on people that have nothing to do with it, right? The lack of press conferences in this case is just, for the size case it is just the most. I don't know. I'm not really happy with Tennessee, but I'm not a Tennessee resident. So if this is the kind of conduct that you guys are comfortable with from your law enforcement, then keep voting this stuff in. I'm telling you that law enforcement is done much differently everywhere else than it's done in Tennessee. So take that for what you will. If you're a Tennessee resident, I would vote the crap law enforcement, and I shouldn't say crap, the ineffective law enforcement that you have working for you right now. If I were Tennessee, I'm not saying right, left, indifferent. I'm not going to pick a political line. I'm just saying it's time for you guys to change. It's time for you to vote a little differently, because the voting you're doing is not helping you. Okay? It really is not. Look at all these open cases in Tennessee. Your law enforcement and their abilities, their training, are not effective. So take that for what you will, but we're in an election season, and I think it's time to start for Tennessee to start taking their state back, because this is ridiculous. This is seriously ridiculous. All these cases unsolved, they don't have a body in them. They just go in a filing cabinet. You're in Sumner County, you can't even get the deputy sheriff to tell you guys, to even show you the common courtesy or the respect to give you guys an update, a minor update that doesn't go to the integrity of the investigation. He can't handle that. Your law enforcement agency can't handle this case, clearly. Because a good, well-oiled law enforcement agency can walk and chew gum, so they can protect the integrity of the investigation while keeping the public informed. They're failing in that respect. We don't know if they're failing in all respects. You know why? Because they're not keeping their public informed. That is a good way to lose my vote. And if you don't believe me, you can come here to Manatee County and ask the politicians. What is a good way to lose Andrew's vote? Because they don't know me by Betty. They know me by Andra. So, I'm sorry. If something like this was going on in my community, and Rick didn't come to that podium and at least show this community the respect, there would be hell to pay. Right? He would probably lose his next election. I'm just saying. That's how we roll here in Florida. We don't reward people for this kind of... The lack of press conference isn't astonishing. Yes, we have a medically needy... And this is not just a 15-year-old boy that ran away from home. This is a medically needy child that disappeared from their community, and law enforcement hasn't provided any update to that community on the whereabouts of that medically needy boy. None. A month ago is inexcusable. It's inexcusable. I'm sorry. That is the most, I think, with an entire community fearful, an entire community still searching for this boy, and their law enforcement, people say we don't have a right to know. Well, you know what? I guarantee law enforcement will make their public a priority when they start losing their job. Right? When they're no longer the sheriff and they've pissed in their community off, then I'm sure they're going to be singing a different tune. But these attacks on law enforcement over the last, 20 years, this is where we're at. We can't even get law enforcement to properly investigate. Are they proper? I don't know. So let's get on to the polygraph. So, of course, we hear from law enforcement all the time that polygraphs, they're just not admissible in a court of law, but they're a great tool and they're highly effective. But when I heard about Robin's post and about how Katie and Chris passed, and Chris was one of the last people, so I don't know what date, whether he was before Seth or Seth was before him, but one of the last to take the polygraph, and he allegedly passed. I don't believe it. Period. I don't believe it. I want law enforcement to come to the podium and tell me that he passed his polygraph. Because I have a funny feeling they're going to choke before they say that. Just my opinion. That is not a factual statement. My opinion. I think they're going to be scared of getting struck by lightning. My opinion. So that's why I want it to come from an official source. Because I don't believe them. Not that I don't believe Robin, Seth's mother. I don't believe that Chris or Katie have passed their polygraph. Now, I would be more inclined that maybe Katie passed her polygraph as opposed to Chris. But at this point, seeing everything that I see, I don't know if Katie can say she's never abused her child or never witnessed abuse of her child and pass. I'm sorry. And I believe that those questions would have been asked as part of her polygraph. So I'm looking in here, and we have highly trained. And so there was one article, I'm not going to go and bore you guys with all of the details of everything that I found, but we have two sides of the aisle when it comes to these polygraph tests. So some of the arguments, some of the statements in here are, oh my gosh, it's hard to, lie. It's hard to not beat a lie detector test, right? It's hard not to beat a lie detector test. You can't, and it's like a cycle. You can, when you read it, you're seeing that they're playing on the psyche. And so I keep reading, and then it starts getting down to where, because we have multiple responses on Quora. We've got multiple different contradicting statements on Reddit. But WikiHow, I kind of like Wiki. I don't know, Wikipedia, right? WikiLeaks, WikiHow. The wikis seem like to be pretty cool, okay? They seem, not that they're 100%, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying they seem pretty cool. I haven't had problems with the wikis out there, right? We've had problems with with a lot of stuff, but so far I haven't had the problems with the wikis. So WikiHow was pretty interesting. So I wanted to read this to you. I thought this was worth reading. If you're taking a polygraph as part of a job interview, criminal case, or screening process, you may have an unpleasant factoid you'd like to avoid. If so, you're in luck. Not only is it extremely easy to dupe these tests, but even if you don't do a good job, the results will be muddy. Polygraphs have been proven to be inaccurate, so while the entire experience may be unpleasant, the results probably aren't going to matter as much as you think. Read on to learn how to pass a lie detector test with, what's the name? Flying colors! Remember Chris's statement, I passed my test with flying colors. Kind of funny how that works. And that exact sentence is right here verbatim. Pass a lie detector test with flying colors. Found that a little odd. So the things that you should know. Answer questions vaguely to avoid providing enough data to spot your lies. Use as few words as you can. Speak calmly without hesitation. Clench your sphincter while answering questions to trick the polygraph into thinking you're lying, right? For your baselines. Remember that polygraphs are unreliable in ideal circumstances, so don't let the interview scare you with promises they've got you cornered. 1. Minimize how much detail you use in your answers. Yes and no are the only thing you need to say when answering questions. Resist the temptation to explain your answer. Sprinkle small omissions and lies into the controlled questions. The controlled questions are the matter-of-fact queries that are either fact-based or extremely vague. These questions are designed to set a baseline for how your body reacts to telling the truth. Examples are, is today Tuesday? You might answer no, even though it is. As soon as you realize your mistake, apologize and say, oh, I mean yes. So they're giving you exactly the tricks that you need. As another example, if they ask you, are you from Chicago? You may say no on the grounds that you are actually born in the hospital in the suburbs of the city. Don't confess to anything relevant or important. Answer your questions firmly, seriously, and without hesitation. Breathe at a stable, normal rate the entire time. Try clenching your sphincter throughout the interview. They also state, and I read this in another article, it might be here. No, maybe not. Is attack. Using attack in your shoe. I had no idea that could work. So did they make Chris Proudfoot take off his shoes before, Chris and Katie, take off their shoes before they had to take this high, intense polygraph test? Answer controlled questions strangely to ruin the results. Think of something stressful when telling the truth. Relax during post-test interview, knowing it's debunk science. Stay alert. The polygraph is not your friend. Ignore any pre-test declarations about accuracy. Expect some alarming questions ahead of time. Identify 3 types of questions you're asked: irrelevant, controlled, and relevant. Conceal your knowledge of the poly. The polygraph may trick you by mentioning certain technical terms. Too much knowledge of the process make the polygraph think that you are hiding something. Preparation. Chris had 60 days. Just remember. Polygraph measures your blood pressure, skin reaction, and heat rate. The theory goes that people physically reveal they're lying by sweating, increased blood pressure, or increase their pulse. In reality, many people are perfectly capable of lying without physical reaction, and many people will have physical reactions when telling the truth just because they're nervous. Find out what the tester is looking for. Practice countermeasures in advance. Approach your whole polygraph day as a single test. So, could Chris and Katie pass their polygraph test? Yes, I do believe they can. And I think that the WikiHow probably, again, I don't know. I didn't do the report. I'm not researching polygraphs, nor do I plan to. If somebody wants to pick up that project and do a research report, a good thorough research report on polygraphs, I welcome it. I'll bring you on my show and let you go through what all you learned, because I'd be interested in the findings. I just don't have the time to do that type of research myself. Jeez Louise. You guys are always going to be in my lap. You're already a pain in my ass. No, I'm just joking. Sorry, not sorry. Absolutely no way in hell 2 pieces, pass their polygraph. I just don't believe it. I really don't. And I hate speculating. I know that this, and this is what's so sad, is I know that the family, like Robin, Seth's mom, grandma, I feel so bad for her because, obviously she's an older lady. She's grandma. And she doesn't know which way is up and down. Come on, guys. I mean, literally, this is her first Mother's Day without her grandson. I'm sure she probably thinks she's firing on all cylinders, but we know, just like Seth, they're not. And I feel so bad for her, and I feel like she's just a little, she feels like a yo-yo, and I feel like she technically is a yo-yo, like she's just been spun all around, and I feel bad, she's angry. I can't even imagine the emotions, just from the anger and frustration to just pain and hurt, and the not knowing, and wanting to blame somebody. And it just seems, easy to blame Chris and Katie because they are the ones that were responsible for this child. How did this child disappear? And then you're hearing stuff like it's everybody else, these creators out there are just, passing negativity around and not really trying to help. It's not that we're passing negativity around and not trying to help. It's just people aren't listening. There's something going on with this boy. There's something that happened inside that house. And we've got parents running away and law enforcement ghosting the community. And it just so happens we're hearing rumors that Chris Proudfoot has family in that very department. And meanwhile, the department is ghosting the community. It's an uncomfortable feeling, okay, to say the least. If his family works for Sumner County, that's even more of the reason why they should be ultra transparent right now. And they're not. And I think we always want to believe that law enforcement is, but you know what? Corruption happens all the time. We have to look at how long it took Crystal Rogers' boyfriend to be brought to justice in Bardstown, Kentucky. I truly believe he had political influence. He was a high roller in that community. I'm pretty sure he had politicians in his pocket. Until they could not protect him anymore, he was out of jail. Now, do I have anything that's going to help me with that? No. I just have a lot of behaviors and the knowledge of the political system, right? So I have problems because I'm a check and balance type of chick, right? I mean, before true crime, I'm a political activist, right? I'm an advocate that goes in there and pulls and has gone through and turned counties upside down, found money, lower taxes, you know. So it's one of those hunt games. And I know how politicians work because I'm dealing with some of the stuff in my own community. You've got money, you're a builder. We got developers, right? The biggest problem that we have in our community right now is the developers buying our politicians. That is one of the biggest problems we have in my county. So if we have, you know, I got to look at that like that. You know, they do have money. Do they have that much money? Probably not. I mean, you know, Brooks Hout in the Crystal Rogers case, I mean, his bail was $10 million because that was his assets. So, I mean, you're talking about a much different wealth dynamic, but still. So I guess all I'm trying to say is that law enforcement, in my opinion, because of the nature of this, because it's a 15-year-old child missing from their community, and they can't tell their community, they're telling their community, they're talking out of both sides of the mouth. They're telling their community that there's no foul play. They're telling their community that there's no investigation, but they're not telling their community anyways anything else. Is this still just a missing person and they've ran out of leads? Is this a normal teenage missing person where it's going into a file folder? Because let's face it, that's what happens in these departments. You have a runaway teenager, right? They can't find or locate the teenager. They move to the next. There's no foul play. There's nothing, right? That's what they're telling us. There's no foul play. This is a missing person. This is a missing child. No foul play. So in all of our other states across this country, or all of our other counties across this country, that means that folder would be folded up and stuck into a filing cabinet. So if we were to apply everything that this department is saying, then we can deduct from our experience of other law enforcement departments that that's where the file's at. And we're not hearing otherwise. So is there an investigation or is there not? Dog handlers pled with ELE to do the right thing and stop the corruption. Yeah, there's something, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like I don't believe Chris and Katie. I keep trying to find a way to believe them, to believe their story. And, you know, I'm going back to the beginning of this case. And honestly, I don't believe shit. Because at the beginning, you know, I missed so many things trying to believe them that I glossed over so much. Like even how did we miss the tongue? Like it was just the way the criminal profile recorded it, because she used her phone to record it and she got right up to the screen. And it was just how large that it was at the time that I literally saw. I could tell exactly what she did. She went like this. Like, that's exactly what she did. She bit her tongue. I knew exactly what she did when I saw it. She and looks over at him, and he had to start taking over, and she went like, fuck, you know, like I just, you know, that's what I saw. And I literally stopped him. Did I just see that? Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had watched this interview 1,000 times. But it was just the way Pat Brown recorded it on her phone that I saw it. And when I saw it, you can't unsee it. And I could not believe it. And I went back and I looked at it again and I looked at it again. I mean, I looked at that and I'm like, that is her tongue. And that's exactly what she did. Right? She could have done it by that, but she didn't. She went like this. That's exactly what she did. That was biting her tongue. And when I saw that in the first interview, after her chuckling, I can't express to you how pissed off that made me. So, yeah, I have to agree with Joe Petito. I don't think these parents, I think, you know what, this is, if I had to provide an opinion, and I don't know if this is right, it might be partly right, it might be totally wrong, but I feel like Katie had this child, and of course, she loves her son, and I think she got with Chris, and I think Chris and Chris's family has just beat her up so much, because I heard some of the stuff. I went back to the beginning of the case, and so I read some things that I had not read that were right there at the beginning of the case, but again, I was distracted. And so revisiting this case, I'm finding new stuff that I hadn't seen, and it seems like the whole family talked bad about this boy. I saw some of the comments Terry Bowersox said about his grandson early on, and he was talking about, well, it really depends on, early day or something like that. He may just, I remember it said something about it depends on how many squirrels are there. And I thought, wow, like they must have made Katie feel so bad for having a disabled son and not understanding it. And she must have just started resenting her own son, is really what I think happened. I think it's just started wearing on her, that this is it with her son. I don't know, but I went back and looked at some of those statements, and it's like, nobody that was surrounding this boy treated him good or talked good to him. They made fun of him behind his back. All of them. I don't know of any parent of every occasionally, I have to be honest, parents, their children, all of their children do some goofy stuff that you just chuckle at, right? But you can see the demeanor and how they thought of Sebastian with the way that they've commented about him since he left, since he's been gone. And they just didn't seem, and none of them seems like very loving, caring, or nurturing people at all. And I was really disappointed. I never really thought highly of Terry Bowersox anyways, but when I came across this text message that he wrote about the squirrels, well, it depends on how many squirrels are in the yard, I'm like, wow. Just, wow. I can't describe how I look at the Bowersox and the Proudfoots. I can't describe. I may not have money, my car may be broke down and maybe in the shop for the last 3 months, but I will tell you what, I look down upon them. I look down upon them. I don't like them. I have no respect for them. None at all. I don't know what they did to this boy. I really don't. But each passing day, I believe it was something bad. And I believe it wasn't something that just happened once or twice either. So it saddens my heart, but do I believe that Proudfoots passed their polygraph? Hell to the nah. I do not. I'm not getting on board with that until law enforcement tells me eyeball to eyeball. Go to that podium and say they passed. Go to the podium and say they passed, because I want to ask you, was their shoes off? What training and countermeasures what questions did you ask? And I want to further state, does any of his family work for your department? Yes or no? Yes or no? I'm a mother of an 8-year-old autistic boy. I would be an absolute blubbering mess. Absolutely. Nobody's seeing that out of her. She's so full of crap. They're all full of crap. I think Seth and Tony has provided they provided more of an olive branch than I would have. Like, I would have been taking that olive branch, shoving it somewhere in a very unpleasant place. But I'm glad. I'm glad. It sounds like something must have happened. But Seth didn't do any of this, and I want to make sure that is no, Seth is not the one acting a fool. It's Chris. Chris is bringing, and Chris and Katie have both. They keep trying to blame this on Seth and all the hate that they're getting on Seth. Bullshit. Bullshit. The reason why I hate Chris and Katie is for their own actions and behaviors. Nobody else's. Nobody else's. Being out here drunk and being hostile. Calling women the C word. Please, Mr. Chris Proudfoot, call me that. Double dog dare you to call me that. Triple dog dare you to call me that C word. And he does that to the investigators just trying to find a man's son. There's no words. Seth didn't do that. We're not going to listen to Chris blame Seth for everything while he blames Sebastian for everything when he was here. Sebastian's gone, and he threatens Seth that he's going to get him gone if he opens his mouth. I'm going to slap her with a cease and desist. Yeah, I'm sure that's what you meant. Yeah. I know you, Chris, I know you're kind. I know you're kind. I know you're kind like the back of my hand. I know you're kind. I sure do. I sure do. So, I'm glad. I'm not glad. I wish things would be different. But I'm glad Seth and Tony are now truly cutting the noise out so they can focus on their son. And Sebastian needs to be found. That's it. Because you know who the noise was? It's Chris and Katie. Look at all this drama because of Chris and Katie. Every bit of it. Chris and Katie, Chris and Katie, Chris and Katie, Chris and Katie, Chris and Katie. Oh, it's Seth. It's because of Seth. No. Chris, Katie, it's because of you. Don't know what to say. All right, guys. So polygraphs. I don't know how you guys feel about polygraphs, but I don't know. But I told you guys at the beginning, if they say Chris passed a polygraph, short of literally giving me his test results or law enforcement coming to a podium, I don't believe it. I'm not going to believe it. I'm not going to sit on my platform, because law enforcement is adamant about this misinformation. And I'm adamant that I'm not going to have my audience misinformed. So unless law enforcement wants to come out and tell me that they passed their polygraph test, the way I'm looking at it is the only person that I've heard a positive polygraph result from is Seth Rogers. And he had the FBI test taker up on the Nancy Grace show that said he passed. So far, the only person I've been able to corroborate has passed their polygraph test is Seth Rogers, and only Seth Rogers. And if anybody wants to prove me wrong, I'm welcoming. Bring receipts. I've got mine. It's the Nancy Grace show. What do you got? Just saying. Mine's bigger than yours. Oh, has anyone ever been interrogated under a... No, I've never had a polygraph test. I mean, I remember coming unglued because I'm a private person and we have business interests and stuff like that. And so I remember I was going for a job one time and they're like, we need to pull your credit report. And I'm like, you get me 8 hours, babe. You ain't pulling my credit. Well, you're going to be handling money. Yeah, I'm going to be handling money. But I don't know how that has anything to do with you knowing about my finances. Are you going to give me your financial records? No. Well, why not? If you're entitled to mine, I'm entitled to yours. Right? Oh, but they don't want... Okay, well then, if this is what's going to get me hired or fired, honey, you ain't getting my credit. This was back, 10 years ago. I had rock star credit. Not so much anymore. Not so much anymore. It's all right. It's all right. It's not the best, after the divorce. Good gracious. Good gracious. Talk about one thing to help kill some credit. Get a divorce. What is it? Do they have like a tap into the divorce courts or something? It's like, oh, they're going through a divorce. Let's take their credit. I feel CP feels threatened since Seth passed, and CP knows he wouldn't do. Well, there's something with the Heather conversation that's never quite sat right with me. And it was when Seth was ultra triggered about Bobby Simmons now talking to Seth again. It literally set Chris off. So much so that he threatened Seth's life. And I just keep wondering, what did law enforcement finally inform Seth of that just kiboshed, whatever additional that they, them trying to work together and whatnot. I keep going back to that Heather, or maybe it's the fact that Heather came out and said that Seth is the one that released that. He's the one that leaked that audio. So Heather recorded it, apparently sent it over to the team, and Seth wanted a copy of it. And they gave it to Seth, and Seth distributed it to a couple of people. So if that's the case, that was his right to do, but I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin. But you know what? At the end of the day, Chris threatened him. And I think at the end of the day, Seth needs to take that seriously and file a police report. Because I don't trust Chris. There's a missing child. I mean, when I hear missing child, I hear of people having nothing to lose. And when people have nothing to lose, they scare the shit out of me. I will be honest with you. That is the scariest time in anything. When somebody has nothing to lose, they have nothing to lose. So that worries me. And if I think that Chris or Katie had something to do with this child disappearance, then I have to believe that they would be willing to do just about anything to save their own hide. And so it's a little concerning for me. And then you have this man that's military trained threatening another man. I would take that serious. Just saying. All right, guys. Well, it's been fun. I can't believe that I'm up this ridiculous early, but you know what? It's a great day to get started. We've already got one live down. Now I can take some time. I've already researched polygraphs this morning. It's hard to believe. I mean, I truly do. When I get up, I work. When I go down, because you know what? You never know. Today might be the day that I just is so exhausted at 2 o'clock and need a nap. You guys will be waiting for your 2 o'clock video, and I will be... So we got to give you a 3 a.m. video, It's 1:44 there. And also, you must be in, like, the California region. Oregon, Washington State, or someplace over there. I thought Heather said her office staff leaked call. I read her statement, Sugar, and her statement was that she trusted and she wanted to be very clear that Chloe and the other girl, I can't remember what the other girl's name was, did not leak this. That Seth had come to them and requested a copy, and seeing how he's the client, they're required to hand that over to their client. And so he got a hold of it and he chose to disseminate it. He sent it, I believe, to Terry Lynn and Josh, the lab, and there may have been another person, I'm not sure. But that was a choice he chose to do. And I know Chris is going to blame him, talking about the bullshit that that Seth stirs up. And Chris can blame Seth for this leak happening, but the bottom line is Seth wasn't the one on the other end of the phone. That was Chris. And he got caught with his pants down again. And in this time, he's yet again threatening. Like, I can tell you right now, Chris does not intimidate me whatsoever. I don't care if that man is 6'6" and 300 pounds. He does not scare me whatsoever. He is a coward. He picks on little children, and he picks on women. That is not a man to me. That is everything that he called Sebastian. That's how I look at Chris. Everything that he said negatively about his stepson, that's how I preview him. All those nasty words, that R-tard word, that nasty P-U-S-S-Y word, that's exactly how I feel about Chris Proudfoot. Exactly. And I bet you he wears those better than Sebastian. Just saying. All right, guys. I love you. God bless. Have a great day. I'll see you soon. But you know I'll be back. I don't stay gone too long. But don't worry. I'm already out of my pajamas, guys. Okay? I'm out of the pajamas. Right? We're not doing pajamas until 1 o'clock this afternoon. I got my hair washed. I did my hair yesterday. Look at that. Look at all that color. I've got... Pretty soon. Look at that. I have no... Look at that. Pretty soon. I'm not cutting my hair yet. I don't want to cut my hair yet, but I don't know. I keep looking at all my pretty photos with my beautiful blonde hair, and I keep, I've been blonde longer. This is the longest I've ever kept one color. I've never kept color this long. It's just because it was synonymous to Bullhorn Betty, and of course, whenever I went out, everybody was looking for the blonde hair, but it's like, I'm starting to gray. I haven't checked. I've been in color. I've been in color for 20 years. I have not seen, outside of a little bit of growth, I have not seen what I look like in my natural hair since I was 20. I don't know. You never know. I might sport the gray pretty well. You never know. So I think I'm gonna let it grow out. What's the worst thing that can happen? I wait a year to have the hair grow out, and then I don't like the color and I go back to blonde. Okay, well then that's what I'll do. So that's what I want. I want to see what my color is. I think I actually kind of starting to dig it. I don't know. It's not too light. The reason why I didn't like my hair before is because it was too dark. When I was growing up, I had this honey gold hair. It was like, I don't know, just the right color of blonde and brown. It was the most gorgeous. I've never seen any. I wish I had my old hair back. And then about 15, when puberty hit, my color changed again, and it looked like I dyed my hair. Like this dark brown just started coming out of the roots, and it was like, you saw the line. It was here, and then it was here, and it's like, no, not the hair. And so I've always tried to get the color back. I've never gotten that honey color back in my hair that I had when I was a kid. And so blonde it is. Yeah. I feel Katie might visit wherever he is. CP goes to work, possibly. Yeah, but man, can you imagine? Like, I keep wondering, 8 years of constantly hearing how horrible your child is. If she did snap, I mean... She was the only one in that house with that kid. And they are acting very weird. It's not a comfortable feeling. This is not my child, and I have some emotion attached to this case, but I don't have the emotion that the family has. I don't have that emotion that Seth has. I don't have that emotion. I just don't understand. I don't understand how Katie and Chris can just run away. I don't know if I'll ever understand. I mean, they're not having, like, you guys have seen some things. I'm not planning on going after Chris and Katie. I think, that I'd go after law enforcement before I went after them. I'd have a protest in front of law enforcement before I have a protest in front of Katie and Chris. I do a sign waving for Katie and Chris, not a protest. But, they ran away and they didn't even have the shit show at the front door. You know what I'm saying? They ran away and they didn't even have a shit show at the front door. So, what harassment? What bullying? What could they possibly muster up to say that? You know, they always want to say when people come together and, you know, are angry with somebody that is bullying and harassment of people. It's called protesting. It's a lawful legal action here in the United States of America. But either way, they did not have that. They didn't have it. So why are they running away? Doesn't make sense. I can understand why. I can understand if that guy around the corner, the one that was doing the repent protest, you know, the stuff like that. I can understand if they ran away because of, you know, because they were worried about that. But even that was just a sign waving, really. You know, it wasn't. Why did the Proudfoots feel the need? They didn't have no need to run away. So why did they run away? Nobody was harassing them. Nobody was out their front door. Nobody was doing anything. So why did they run away? They tried to say it was because of harassment. We have corroborated there was no harassment. So why did they run away? And why did it take Proudfoot so long to take his polygraph test? I promise you this isn't how my fiance and I would be acting if our autistic son was gone. Leave our home, go for... Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, it's not that. It's the fact that they said he walked out the door. That he basically ran away from home. So they ran away from home? If nothing happened to their son, wouldn't they anticipate him coming back home? It would seem like that would be the logical thing, that their child, she knows for a fact he went out the front door. So she knows for a fact after, you know, just so long, he's going to walk back in that front door. I think what happened is they realized when this case turned to them law enforcement entertaining the fact of foul play, that seems to be when they went on interviews and when they decided to kick rocks. Seems like everything related to the change in the behavior of Chris and Katie happened after this case started taking the turns to be able to look at foul play. Just my mild observation. But hey, there's fact checkers out there, so go fact check and let us know what facts you found. Why did she keep repeating that he had no shoes on and a flashlight? Those points have... I don't know. I kind of feel like the whole retention pond situation was kind of staged for some reason. I don't know why I feel that, but I just kind of feel that it was staged. And that's why it was so adamant that she had to have his shoes off because footprints were out there. So I don't know. It could have been one of those things where nobody asked about the shoes until after they heard on the radio, because there's always a cop right there. When you have a missing person, a cop stays with those parents. They don't just leave the house and you know, when you have the cavalry like that, there's cops literally with you the whole time they're there, right? Somebody's right next to your side. So that she would have been hearing all of this stuff going on these walkie-talkies that they have, you know, turned on. So they would have heard that whole conversation about the retaining pond, about the shoes and the feet. So it could have been that actually was staged, or that was older and she just heard it and said, oh, well, he doesn't have his shoes. Or Seth would have told them he only has 3 pairs of shoes and they're all here. So I think there was some reasons, but I don't know what those reasons were. Could it have been because they heard something? Could have been because they couldn't dispute certain facts inside their home. And so the only way that they could explain that is by basically telling them that he doesn't have shoes on. But I think by them messing that, because I think it was an accident. If something happened inside that home with Sebastian and they carried Sebastian out, which is what I truly believe happened, is that they weren't, because he probably takes his shoes off when he's in the house, seeing how clean his mother is. His mother probably requires him to take his shoes off at the front door before walking through the house. So as soon as he enters that home, he's probably taking off his shoes. So anything that happens inside that home, he would have no shoes on. So I think that they weren't thinking. So there's several theories even related to the shoes. The flashlight just might be a woobie item that everybody knows that he would not leave without. I don't know. And I don't know how they could prove that. Remember, the garbage went out that morning. Could they have thrown that flashlight in the garbage? Yeah. Yeah. Could they have thrown some evidence away? Yeah. Did the cameras pick up Katie going to the garbage can at all that morning? You know, before she left the house? I don't know. And also, where was the motorcycle? Does the motorcycle stay with Chris out there, or does he just drive his truck and come home on the weekends and take the motorcycle out of the garage? I think that the carriage garage is where he keeps his motorcycle. So I just wondered, because, you know, there were, like, people believe there were floodlights that came on. I think those were lights. I think those were vehicle lights from the construction site. You know, they pulled up and it just shined this way. I don't think they were floodlights at all. I think they were vehicle lights or a motorcycle light. I'm not sure. But it happened right around that 3-something in the morning timeline. So that would not have given Chris enough time to get back to work by 5:15. So therefore, I believe that was Katie coming home, and that means that somebody else was with her. And that would be, in my opinion, potentially her in-laws, because let's face it, the only people that seem not to like Sebastian or make fun of him, or, you know, just humiliate him as much and as often as possible, seems to be Chris, his family, and Katie. It seemed like Seth loved him and loved to do things with his son and enjoyed being around his son. So the lights almost look like fogs on a car. Yeah. I keep thinking Kathy. Like, Kathy, she just, I don't know. I don't know. Something happened that night. And this kid does not have contact with anybody else. So it's an inside job that you're never going to shake out of me. Without proof, without proper receipts and proof, you're not going to be able to shake that out with me. He has no outside influence, no friends, no computer, no predator, no nothing. The only other thing that I can think that it could be is one of the neighbors. Those would be the only other people that Sebastian saw regularly enough to recognize, in my opinion. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Steph. Harmony Montgomery didn't have any accidents until she was with her father. Yeah. And we attribute to bedwetting as potential for abuse. You know, the child being abused, either, you know, SA or otherwise physically. I don't know if emotional abuse does that to children or not, or if it's just physical in SA. But I'm interested in looking into that aspect as well. I feel like everything is a lie. Every timeline, if they need to. Yeah, and I'm working on it, because I haven't really seen any good timeline in that News Nation article. I cannot believe how many mistakes were in that News Nation article. Somebody sent it to me. I think it was it Katrina? I think it was you, Katrina, that might have sent it to me this morning. Or yesterday, and Katrina was like, I thought this, and I'm like, this whole article is a hot mess. I'm absolute, because it was the only really timeline that's really out there, and it's out there by News Nation, and it's literally littered with wrong information, like not even, like, it just absolutely factually wrong information. I just saw it this morning again. They haven't even went in there and edited the factually wrong information out of that article. I was kind of floored that News Nation is allowing that particular article to still be floating around, because it is wrong. Like, just wrong. I mean, the very first sentence is Katie and Christopher Proudfoot last saw their son. Chris was not home. Katie was the last one to see her son. I don't know who allowed that to go out. somebody that was obviously asleep at the wheel. But if you know what I'm talking about, go read the News Nation timeline that they've published. It is literally littered with factually wrong information. Where's our hate channels coming out with them and putting them on a pedestal and dissecting their freaking article endlessly for 3 years because they got wrong information? I'm just waiting for the hate channels to pick up News Nation, right? Totally wrong. Has research teams out the wazoo. And I publicly said something about it yesterday. They still haven't fixed it. I wonder if they're going to fix it. But the news article is factually wrong. And there's some, but go read it. You'll see. Go read it. Let's pray today will be the day. Yes, I agree, Wayne. Let's pray. Emotional abuse and fear can both cause. Okay. I was unsure. I definitely knew about the physical stuff, but I wasn't sure if emotional. I can think of, because it's still intimidating, right? And that's really what it's scared. I think is the child feeling scared. So, well, thank you for the clarification. All right, guys, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Probably not the time to start drinking. Not the right 5 o'clock. Okay. Careful what you say, Betty. Our 2 o'clock show might. Whoop, every time I move this thing, I gotta get a better base. You know what I would like somebody to do? I'd like somebody to literally make a tripod, a handheld tripod that's balanced. Like, I gotta constantly turn this. This is a tripod. If their legs came down a little flatter, then it probably wouldn't fall all over the place. But I can't seem to find a handheld tripod where an engineer looks like they had scruples to do it properly, I'm starting to sound like Chris Proudfoot, I know, but it's not done properly, I'm telling you. I love this thing, but the feet need to come out just a little bit more. Just joking. Bloody Mary's 2 a.m. here. Okay, well, you enjoy that Bloody Mary. I'm going to enjoy my water. I need some coffee. You guys all have a safe Saturday. All the drama aside, I wish sadly I could hug the precious little boy. Yeah, I know. I think we all do. It's sad. It's sad, but God bless Seth. I know Seth and Tony have a major uphill battle, and but I feel good about Tony. I hope everybody gets on board with him. I do feel good about him. I feel like he's coming from the right place. He seems like he is settling some things. I really feel like he's settling some things. Things are not as Chris, we can't control Chris. Okay, Chris is going to bring, like I said, you add Chris, you got yourself a circus, right? So we've got the circus in town, but it sounds like we're ditching the baboon show, right? So we'll move forward. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's about Sebastian Rogers. When we get out there, we go in the woods. It's not about Seth. It's not about Chris. It's not about Katie. It's about that boy. But it's just getting into those woods. God bless Terry Lynn. God bless Terry Lynn. God bless the other ladies that are out there working their tail end off, trying to, clear some areas. I wish I could be there. This has been very hard on me. I can tell you that. It's not even just, it's being crippled here, it's being literally latched to my home. I feel like I'm on freaking house arrest. That's what it feels like. And I don't do anything wrong. Anyways, guys, I love you. God bless you. We'll see you guys here in a few hours. I'm going to get over, I don't even know what I'm going to talk about on TikTok yet. I got to do some research, probably another hour or so of research. And then once I get that live done, I'll get it uploaded over here. So I talk to you later. I love you guys. God bless. Have a happy Saturday. See you soon. I can't do it. I can't push my buttons and wave at you. So I'm going to try.